So, hi everyone. And today we're going to be talking about, well, how I built my side projects when I was, I don't think I was a junior. I don't remember actually. It was quite a long time ago. I think, actually, let me see when the first commit was. 9 years ago. 9 years ago. So, I think it's almost 10 years ago when I created I started like this. Uh, a spree of side projects, and I was building open source software that I thought was needed, and actually, it's gotten quite popular over time. One of my packages has now like 6,000 stars on GitHub. It's widely used. It's being quoted in different Python books as the tool for like extraction of requirements. So I built this tool. It's called piprex. Pip requirements, short piprex. It was like my weekend project, so it's actually like quite a funny story. So back then I was building some other project, and I was like importing stuff, and then I noticed that the build is not replicable. So I had to like manually by hand figure out which packages I was using. So I had to like by hand copy and paste the package into the requirements.txt file so that I can like commit this and send it to some other, send it to GitHub so I can deploy it somewhere else. So while I was copying the packages, I was like, oh man, this sucks. And basically I had a problem. Because this took me quite a bit of time. So I was like, can I automate this somehow? And I was like, I'm a software engineer. Of course I can. I can build a software that goes through the code and extracts packages from the source code and puts them into the requirements.txt. So I decided I dropped that side project and started doing this new one. So it was quite fun. I spent like a weekend. Actually, I coded I think the whole night, and then slept a bit, and then continued coding. It was not as trivial as you might think. Because the package names, like the import names, are not equal to package names, so I had to build some kind of like a mapping from packages from PyPy into my library basically. But it worked, and I decided like to share this with the world, and I posted on Hacker News, and it's gotten quite a few points. I think it was on the front page for many hours. And I think that's how I got my first 1,000 likes, 5,000 stars on GitHub. And from there, people just started sharing that library, and it's still alive and well today. Though it's not being developed by me. I shared the contributor status with a few people, and they're the ones who are putting commits there and making sure that the stuff is properly developed. But again, I developed it for 1 or 2 years after that until I got more absorbed in my work, and I just left open source as a whole. So this is not the only package that I built. So back then, when I had this whole desire to build side projects, piprex is one of the biggest ones. There was also Go pencils. I call this like that because this is like an easy way to generate REST-based endpoints for Golang. So why I decided to do it back then with Go is because Go was quite new. Again, this Go pencils is also, I think, it's 10 years. It's even 10 years. It's more than 10 years old. So again, the goal was, okay, Go is a new language. There is not that many packages available yet. And I decided, why not write, things that I enjoy doing. So back then I enjoyed writing REST frameworks, and I decided why not write one for Go. So I did, and this one has right now I think 500 stars. I also launched it on Hacker News, and it was received quite well. And I also have Go Jenkins. It's still in use actually. Go Jenkins is still in use. It's a Jenkins API client for Go, and it has almost 1,000 stars. I have Go Tabulate. It's basically like a pretty print library for your command line tools, like where you can print pretty print tabular data. I have Node-READ, which was essentially like a library that extracted readable content from any web page And I see that I currently have like I think 19 repositories. I'm not sure if all of those are my work, but like I think at least half of that is my own repositories that I did. And again, like back then in 2014, 15, I was enjoying having like this GitHub, I don't know, like this image with my commits, which showed the daily contributions, and it was always full, or at least a single commit. And I really enjoyed having that filled in. And I built quite a lot of open source libraries that have gotten quite popular. And I'm really proud of that because, again, the tools that I've built back then are still in use. And that makes me kind of proud, so to speak. And I think you can also do the same. You can just theoretically replicate what I did. So I took for example, I took the Go language, which was quite new 10 years ago. And now, for example, I think Rust is quite new. And you can do the same that I did with Rust, for example, build the frameworks that you have, for example, in Python or in TypeScript or in whatever language you're comfortable with, and just replicate them in Rust, and then share them with the world. All of my libraries have, I think, MIT license, which means they're free to modify, change, use, commercialize, whatever, as long as my name is attached to the library. So I think that's the most reasonable license, and you can do the same. You can write something that you think needs to be, for example, in Rust, and replicate that library, publish it on Hacker News in the Show HN category, or share it to Reddit or whatever, and then start building your open source presence. And I actually found some of my job offers came from open source. From my GitHub page, because I have a link to my LinkedIn. I think I had a link to my LinkedIn back then. So I received a few job offers from GitHub, which is quite nice. Again, it's everything that you do in open source is basically like your badge of honor, as long as it's good enough. And again, don't stop that. Don't let that stop you from releasing something. So when I first released my libraries, my open source libraries, they were not that good. I rewrote some of them after release to make sure that they were like up to the standards of open source community. I added comments, I added documentation, badges, deployment, continuous integration stuff. And but again, I shared once I was sure that the problem that I wanted to solve was solved. And again, most of the times the problem that I was solving was not my own, like not only my problem, but other people were having the same problem. So that library usually had some popularity because I was not the only one with the problem. So I decided to share it, and it usually worked out quite nicely. So I'm looking now at my GitHub profile, and again, it makes me proud that I have these open source tools that are used by others, and I implore you to do the same. Build something for the new and coming languages that are being created in the last years, because again, the software development landscape, it moves forward. So you need to there's new languages being created. So you need to create library, create new libraries for the new languages that are developed. So again, in my case, it was Go, it was Python. And in your case, it might be Rust, it might be some other language that's up and coming. Actually, I don't know which ones are popular right now, in the sense which are new and popular, because you don't have, you can theoretically bet on populars that are not really popular. I never expected that, for example, Go will become the mainstream, one of the mainstream languages. It grew quite a bit since 10 years, but I was not expecting that that time. So again, I just wanted to build something in the new languages while learning Go, and I did, and I had fun with it. And I think I created a decent open source profile that helped me land a few jobs back in the days. So I recommend doing that for yourself, and I hope this was useful to you. Again, I did it, it worked for me, it might as well work for you. So if this kind of content is fun to you, and you want to see more videos like this, then press that like button and subscribe, and we'll see each other in the next video, where I'm going to be talking about, actually I'm not sure yet, so we'll see what I'll be talking about. So leave me a comment if you have any thoughts about my open source contributions, and yeah, have a nice day, and bye-bye.